have an almost entirely unregulated industry, which, as far as I know, it's probably one of the last almost entirely unregulated industries in the world. And yet it's one with such high physical risks and high emotional and social risks for the people who participate in it. And I think that, circus artists, especially individual artists, are often left in precarious positions where a lot of advocacy is expected of them if they're going to be able to, let me change the way that I want to say that. They're going to have to be expert self-advocates, in addition to being expert performers and expert travelers and expert nervous system soothers. And it starts to be a lot of things that people need to be able to do really well consistently to protect their safety. And that ability to do something very difficult very well consistently, again, is another set of stressors.
I think it's important, like what you're saying, that we continue to dispel the myth of the unflinching, mechanistic performer out there that I'm constantly being labeled with. I'm sure you are too. And we all know what that feels like. And I'm constantly trying to remind people that we are human and have human issues and that we take a lot on in this medium. And I think it only hurts us moving forward to feel sacrificed for the art of it, and really makes no sense to me in being okay with others projecting unrealistic expectations onto us, because we are already doing the impossible with our work, like you said, and adding the extra superhero status to us doesn't serve us. And it does serve for the outside world to experience more of our humanity so that they want to empathize with us more instead of just being entertained by us. And I think that that will serve to help project more regulation for us, as you stated. I think that the burden of having to be a jack of all trades within this becomes much more to bear than we are usually able to vocalize, and that those coming into this environment, like what you said too, are not at all usually adequately prepared for these constant burdens of having to be and do everything. People think that we just arrive on the stage and that someone else is taking care of things for us, but that's not true. You're going in and out of all of these very tricky environments, like what you were speaking about too, Janelle, with no one really there to vouch for you. We're dealing with a lot of independent and private companies and corporations who have siphoned off most of the control to themselves, and they stay that way. And there is not usually anyone knocking on that door from the outside as an overseer, really in any country, asking, are you okay as the artist? Or how are things really going on in there? I mean, it's very few and far between. And thank God we have seen a renaissance taking, place throughout this year. But it's not enough. We are just really at the tip of an iceberg. And we know, you and I know, that we need some kind of union, and we need some kind of laws and regulations that are not just things that serve an arena union once we travel through there in America. That's not going to cut it. That doesn't help their performers. And definitely when you're going in and out of country, it doesn't serve you to not have anybody there that feels like they're going to be held to a legal standard for your care. And again, understanding and recognizing that because you are your own agent, your own support system, your own choreographer, your own producer, your own organizer, your own creative source, your own travel agent, your own everything. You become at some point in this business everything and anything, depending on what you need to do. You're your own rigger. You're the one that has to be responsible, for the things that go on that are sometimes out of your control, depending on what company you're working with and how difficult that is. And I know that for a lot of people going back into work right now, I think there's a lot of anxiety outside and not being able to work, but also too the heightened anxiety of going into a circus world as well that is changing so much now. And that I think also too, we all have different expectations right now going into work. And I think that's also too creating a level of anxiety for a lot of circus performers of what is the environment going to be like now, or is it going to be a lot of the same as it was before? And how do I also too deal with the paradox of wanting to be still in this environment, but wanting it to change and maybe knowing that it's not changing as much as I wish that it would in a lot of ways, but still having to show up there because it's what I love to do. And it's also my job, and also being forced in some ways to maybe take work in a capacity that maybe we don't fully want to do, but the environment now is oversaturated. So many people are out of work. So many people want to come back into work. So many people want to make it. Some people I know are probably feeling anxious about having to give up things that maybe they worked hard during the quarantine, that they don't know if companies are actually going to match that once they go back into these environments. And I think that's, that produces a lot of anxiety as well, for us too. So I think there's so much going on right now that's new and that's old. We have a lot of innovation. We have a lot of traditionalist thinking as well. And I know even for myself, I'm weighing a lot of that kind of back and forth of how do we all continue to reinforce these new boundaries going forward without being fearful of how that affects our work, how it affects our journey, and how do we do that with support? Because again, what I think we deserve in this business, and what I feel like, needs to continue with the empowering like you're doing, Janelle, with artists, is to show them you can psych yourself, you can therapy yourself, you can use those resources that are out there on your own. Because most likely, even still now, those are not going to be offered to you in the way that you deserve them. It's not that you don't deserve them. It's that they are not being offered to you in the way that you deserve them, because you don't deserve to suffer in an environment that does not take care of you, but sources so much goodness from you. And I think, again, circling back around, you said we are one of the last mediums that is so underregulated. And I don't think that can be lost on any of us. And I think it's very important for everyone to remember that if you are struggling right now, know that, there is not a big network created around circus arts to support you in the way that you should be supported, and an environment that you've given so much to that is, doesn't really have a lot of platforms to help us land very gently or softly.